Black Myth Wukong and Stellar Blade robbed in the Golden Joystick Awards. They hate these games.
Alright guys, what started back in November of last year with Game Science, IGN, and Black Myth Wukong and this hit piece from IGN, written by Rebecca Valentine and Ki-Hun Chan, has now metastasized into something far more insidious, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. So this article came out back in November, basically saying that Game Science, the developers behind Black Myth Wukong, an absolutely fantastic game, basically this studio's first attempt at making a true AAA title, not just mobile games, was rooted in sexism of the Chinese tech company, and essentially that they were just a bunch of despicable misogynists. And that was, of course, based on loosely, incorrectly translated phrases and expressions and whatnot. But that has started a deluge. Sorry, not a deluge. The opposite of a deluge. That has started a waterfall cascading down of all these articles talking about how there's this controversy around this studio and sexism in the nation's gaming industry, and things like how the storm of controversy around Black Myth Wukong has the first global gaming blockbuster become a weird rallying point for the right. All these hit pieces, one after another, keep coming out. Hit game Black Myth Wukong faces backlash after telling players not to discuss, quote, feminist propaganda. And this is, of course, from The Guardian. So then we saw how they had their Game of the Year voting on IGN. And of course, some weird shenanigans were going on. Some 3 a.m. ballot dumps, some weird stuff that we saw happening behind the scenes. And allegedly what the situation was, as you can see from these posts here from Grums, minute by minute, hour by hour, despite the fact that it was winning its head-to-head duels on IGN's website, we saw the percentage of wins drop drastically, despite the other top contenders not increasing significantly in the duels.
Really?
Now, of course, this doesn't prove IGN was intentionally tanking this game because of their own bias, but it sure looked suspicious. And it was suspicious enough that now we have seen a massive influx of people saying, screw IGN, we're going to vote this game back up. And of course, you can see it's back on top again, but not nearly at the margin that it was before. But this caused IGN to feel the need to come out and explain things. IGN's going to mansplain to us here, okay? And of course, explaining and fixing IGN's face-off controversy, I'm not going to go through this whole article, it's just not worth it. But it's just another fluff piece talking about how, oh, this was all for fun, and we didn't have any hand in this, and nothing insidious was happening, and it's fun to see people, competing for their own game, blah, 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 blah. However, they then want to make the claim that they had no hand in tampering with the results of this face-off in any way during this period. They say, we've spent the past few days investigating what happened and how we can keep face-offs making people happy instead of mad going forward. Here's what the voting actually looked like on September 21st through 24th by the hour from the top regions where people were participating. Essentially what they're saying is there was a campaign of people who decided to troll Black Myth Wukong fans and to try to downvote the game. And I think that that's a completely bogus explanation, but again, I don't have proof to the controversy. So unfortunately, we have to go with what they said. Despite all this, like I said, it is back on top where it should be, and I loved Shadow of the Erdtree. Fantastic DLC. Stellar Blade, of course, is a wonderful game. Helldivers 2 had a very faithful fan base for a long time. Space Marine 2, Astrobot, both admirable as well. Even Palworld. Hell, Palworld, that was pretty fun for a few minutes, honestly. That being said,
for a few minutes.
We have seen people saying for months now, like Shroud saying that if Game of the Year is rigged, if Black Myth Wukong doesn't win. Talking about how they know that Black Myth Wukong is not going to be the game of choice for most of these sites that do Game of the Year voting. And of course now the Golden Joystick Awards is live, voting is open, and notably there's a game missing. Well, a couple games missing, but we'll stick with Black Myth Wukong for right now. If you go through all of the categories, it's not nominated. Crazy as that sounds, it's not nominated for Game of the Year. So, as weird as that is, it shouldn't surprise anybody because of the fact that they do not want this game to be given any notoriety. And I know that there's a lot of controversy behind the scenes when it comes to Tencent and the CCP and people believing that this is not a good thing for this game to be so successful. And I've talked about this before, and I understand a lot of the implications of this game doing so well. However, at face value, it is a fantastic game. It is a solid choice.
If someone could enlighten me in the comments.
Need for my bunghole.
Thanks, Jaws. What's the problem with them being successful here? I have a feeling I know what the answer is, but I don't want to assume that's the answer because that sounds like I'm just being a cynical conspiracy theorist in my mind, thinking that communist China should fucking be successful. But I don't think that has anything to do with it. So Please enlighten me.
Choice. And of course, this person here, William on Twitter, says they can't hide it anymore. It's only racism towards Chinese. Even in gaming awards, they purposely remove hit Chinese-made title Black Myth Wukong. They don't let you select it as best PC game of the year, but only best graphics. And again, in these categories, it does have some categories that it qualifies for, but not for best PC game. Absolute trash, absolute rubbish. Then, of course, somebody else pointed out, talking to the Golden Joystick Awards on Twitter, hey, I think there's a stellar contender missing for the following categories: Best Soundtrack and Console Game of the Year. So, Stellar Blade, another game that did gangbusters in total copies sold. People loved it, generally popularly or favorably reviewed by pretty much everybody who played it. Not up for Console Game of the Year. Like, WTF, guys, what is going on? But it makes sense. When you go back and you start thinking about these absolute dreadful sites like the Mary Sue and the Gamer and the Guardian and all the rest of them, Dexerto, all these sites that try to cater to their completely like left-wing radical audience, talking about how toxic masculinity is bad, the male gaze is bad, we have to empower women and push men down in the process. Talking about months ago how Stellar Blade's design isn't the problem, it's how creepy men are being about it. Again, they hate gamers. They hate men. They hate anybody who enjoys beautiful, feminine women. Veridark had a video about this, talking about how they snubbed both Black Myth Wukong and Stellar Blade in the process, and I 100% agree that they were intentionally snubbed. Whether people want to say that they weren't is a whole nother, you can argue that all day long. We don't have the legitimate evidence of it, but what we can tell you is they have hated these games from day one. They've hated the fan base that has rallied around them. So it's not surprising that they're not up for best PC game or best console game of the year, which is why people like Stutter and Craig over at the Side Scrollers podcast decided to start their Real Game Awards. And the amount of crap this man took, the amount of crap this guy took over his Real Game Awards is astounding. And this is simply a way of putting real gamers in control of what games win Game of the Year. And of course, I get it. There's a paid membership thing and people aren't happy about it, or some people aren't happy about it, saying, oh, he's grifting, he's just a grifter. But it's like, guys, look. If people who are voting for the games know going in that they've got skin in the game and they want to donate $5, $10, $15 to $30, even $150, that's up to them. All these other websites rely on thousands of ads on every page that you click on to pay for their salaries. So what does it matter if the Game Awards has a paid membership program? Like, give me a break, guys. Seriously, what the hell's the difference? But of course, you see people like Alyssa Mercante and this Kate Bush's boyfriend, husband account on Twitter, literally calling it the biggest cash grab category. You have to pay $30 a month to even vote on this quote awards show. Again, well, they have their award shows that are funded by corporations that don't actually reflect the gamers, and so there's one now that does. And again, they hate it. They're just going to cope and seethe about it because this is made for fans of video games, people who actually play the games, and not the corporate media shills. So I'm going to leave it right there, guys. Let me know what you think about all this. It doesn't surprise me that Black Myth Wukong and Stellar Blade are getting crapped on by the mainstream media. It shouldn't surprise us at this point, but I'm going to leave it right there. I will see you guys on the next one. All right, and if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you for being here. I do have two channels, Minimal Effort Podcast, as well as my gaming channel. I do have a Twitch and Kick for my gaming channel. We do live streams over there occasionally, maybe once a week. And then if you are in the market for a new PC, make sure to check out Meta PCs. Click the link I have down below. Use code TBO at checkout for a special discount.
Word, go follow him. That was a great video, Minimal Effort Live. And we'll go check out the next one.